Thanks for joining us today for another melt. So I'm going to melt some aluminum down today. And after dragging this furnace out here to cure my crucible and for my last melt, I realized it's really heavy. That thing is 90 pounds. For those of you who don't base the length of something off the size of a king's foot, 40.8 kilograms. And then the lid is another 32.5 pounds or 14.75 kilograms. So I bought this little baby. So you can buy a drum dolly. This is a quarter drum, 16 gallon. You can buy a drum dolly, but it's like 68 bucks. So got that from Harbor Freight for about 37 something, maybe almost $38. And it actually it's rated for heavier weight. It's got more casters. I did have to put that piece of plywood in the bottom so that because of the way the bolts are for the casters, it was not sitting right in there, but now it wheels around no problem. So today we are going to be doing some styrofoam casting. So that right there is from this pattern. So when they built my patio cover, they put the posts right on the ground. And concrete is porous, so the posts tend to rot. This one is really rotten because it's right next to my pond, and my pond tends to overflow, and so that's kind of sitting in water sometimes. So anyway, you can buy the bases at like Lowe's or Home Depot, but they're plastic. And I found some aluminum ones that you can order online. They're like $7, but then it's like $9 shipping. So I have aluminum, I have gas, I'll just make my own. So that's the pattern I came up with. Got some holes in there. I do not need a solid piece of aluminum under those posts. Those posts are like 5 3/8 posts. And so I gotta make 6 of these. But today I'm just making 1. So the first thing that I ever foam casted was this. So some of you might realize it looks kind of like a hearse shifter. You're like, what is that? Why has that guy got that on there? Well, my daughter was in a musical, the Addams Family musical, and this was a handle on the torture device. And so I was in charge of making the torture device. Came out pretty good. I had to do a lot of finishing work on it. I casted it in playground sand, so it was really pitted. But anyway, it turned out really nice. I bought some of these ring molds, just wax, and I put them in plaster mix, and it's in the oven right now, warming up, and maybe we'll do some of my sterling silver, make some rings, hopefully. I like to watch Big Stacked from Australia. If you found my video, maybe you found his too, but he reminds us to put a piece of cardboard in there to keep the crucible from sticking to the fire brick. All right, let's turn the gas on. Fire this baby up. this is what I got for today. I was gonna do silver, but my ring mold, the middle broke out when I was heating it up in the oven to melt the wax out. I meant to put a steel rod down that middle so that it would hold together, but I forgot. And so, well, that's the way it is. All right, so this bar is really rough. I don't know why, but they powder coated that thing before they sent it. You're pouring molten metal into it. Why would they powder coat it? So after the first round burnt out, this is the next one. Still a little warm, so I'm wearing gloves. And it turned out much better. Looks nice. And some smaller aluminum bars. So I decided, since it's a nice day, I'm gonna go ahead and do this again. So I don't know if I explained it well enough last time. I hate sites that over-explain things. The styrofoam that I'm using is that stuff from like a Dollar Tree or whatever that has paper on both sides. So cut the form out and then you can just peel the paper right off. And I did this in 4 layers. So on these, I'm gonna pull them out and then I'm gonna use my finger to go around the hole and pack all that sand down so that it is a nice pour. You don't want a bunch of loose sand around there or you get sand in your cast. And then, since my ring molds didn't work, I got this little graphite coin mold. So I think I'll melt down my silver and put it in the coin mold. And I'm going to apologize for my neighbor's dogs. Again, cardboard in. Make sure the crucible doesn't stick. I've been warming up this crucible in the barbecue. Not sure if that's going to help with the life of the crucible, but it may. Now you may have seen this borax in the back. I am using the borax to see if it works with the draws and a better pour. So we shall see. there's still some wax left in there from the ring mold. That's why it's on fire. Silver in. So today I got another aluminum base for my patio cover, an aluminum bar, an aluminum cylinder. I'm not sure why that one broke when I put it in the water. I think it's just got too many impurities in it. So I would throw that back into the waste scrap, melt it down again later. And a nice little silver coin, I guess. Not really shaped like a coin, more like a Hershey's Kiss. Now, I mentioned Big Stacked earlier in my video, and I don't want to compete with him, but I really like the way he keeps a running total of how much metal he's melted. And I'm not competing. He's got 5,000 pounds. So, you know, give me a couple of years and maybe I'll catch up a little bit. But this is 12.5 pounds of these little mini muffins. And then another 4.43 pounds of these little mini bars. And I'll total up the other stuff after I finish making it pretty, because I'm probably gonna hog off some of the material while I'm sanding, buffing, polishing, etc. I got all the polishing done that I'm gonna do. So that mirror finish took a couple hours to get that all pretty like that. So that 1.76 pounds, 0.79 kilograms. So there it is. Aluminum shrinks quite a bit. So if you cast it with a sprue, then it pulls from the sprue and you don't have this shrinkage right there. But there's that. So this one is the one that still had the powder coat on the inside of the bar mold. That's why it's all chunky like looking. So that is basically the plastic melting off and turning into a gas and bubbling through the aluminum that causes all that. And then there's one of the other ones. Started to
get it all sanded down and polished. The other one was more promising, so I stopped on this one and worked on the other one. And then these are the bases for my posts, but they turned out awful. So I'm gonna see if I can do something a little better. I mean, they go under posts, so they don't need to be pretty, but we'll see if we can do something better next time.